Alright, so in this video we're checking out the Skyzone SKY02O FPV goggles. So this is another new one from Skyzone. They've been kind of putting out a lot of new models lately, but this one is kind of a remix of a old goggle that I reviewed a while back, maybe almost 2 years ago, the Skyzone O2C goggles. I think there was two variants of those. There was the O2C and the O2X, and I think one of them had the camera. I think the one I had the camera in the front here. Obviously, they don't have the camera on this one. They're basically reusing the shell of that goggle. So it's a little bit of a step backwards in terms of the design. Although some people actually like that design, so maybe perhaps that's why they are bringing this back. They obviously have brought back the old button layout as well. Now, as you guys know, I use the O4X goggles as my daily analog goggle, which has the basically updated buttons, updated shell with the scroll wheels. I find this to be a much better experience. And then it has the steady view receiver module, which is similar to rapid fire, and it's also compatible with other receiver modules as well. So they've gone to this sort of setup here. This is their latest setup, but they've kind of gone old school with this setup here. Now with this shell, it only has the one faceplate. So basically, if you have a really wide face like me, you're not going to enjoy the experience of the pressure on the sides here. I prefer the newer design with the two different faceplates. So you have the wider faceplate here. Fits perfectly for me. I actually like the fit and feel of this one for my face, but this one also does come with the narrower faceplate, so it'll be similar for people that actually prefer this narrower faceplate. So they've also gone back to the diopters, so you can put the fat shark diopters in here like on the old goggles instead of the adjustable diopters on the new setup here. This is sort of like the way the HGO2 and some of the newer goggles have the adjustable diopters, so you don't have to put in diopter inserts. You can actually get the exact focus you want. The IPD adjustment is the same as on the O2C. I think it's 59 to 70 millimeters, I believe, so no improvements there. Does not power off a USB like before. The DVR is also the old DVR, which is using the MJPEG 30 frames per second DVR, which wasn't bad. I mean, it was better than the Fat Shark DVR, but not as good as the DVR on the O4X, which has the H.264 DVR, much higher bit rate, much better video recording than on the old DVR. So we went back to that, but this one does have the new steady view receiver built in. Now it's not using it via a module, so there's no module bay on this. This is basically going back to the two individual antennas. The steady view receiver is built into the goggle. It's like on the actual circuit board inside. So they replaced the old receiver with this new receiver, the updated steady view technology, and they upgraded the screens. So they got the OLED screens in here now, but they're much lower resolution than what's on the O4X goggles. The O4X goggles have the highest resolution screens, also the most expensive, 1280 by 960, I believe. It's a 4.3 and 16 by 9 switchable screen as well. This one here is a 16 by 10 screen, although on the Skyzone website it says it's 16:9 4.3 switchable, but I have not seen anywhere in the menus where it's switchable. So I think it's 16:10 fixed. This is what they say on the Banggood website. It's a 29-degree field of view and a pretty low resolution. It's like 640 by 480, I believe, or 600 by 480. So it's not super high resolution, but it is a smaller screen and a smaller field of view. So compared to the larger screen and much larger field of view on the O4X, which has a 43-degree field of view, the lower resolution isn't as noticeable to me. Now, I have compared them directly, and I tried to show what the screens look like on camera. It's very hard to focus, and it's really difficult to see much of a perceptible difference because the difference has to do with the field of view and how much viewing space it takes in your actual field of view of your vision. So because the narrower field of view of this smaller screen basically it's like taking the larger screen here and then just reducing it by half, which is basically what it is, and you reduce your field of view, so the resolution doesn't look that much different. It just looks like you have a smaller screen, a smaller field of view compared to the larger O4X. So, for some people it's not going to be a problem. They actually, for me, I prefer smaller fields of view because you can actually see the whole thing versus on the really super large field of view, your perception of the outer edges of the field of view are not as basically not as used. Now, some people argue that gives you a more immersive experience, but at the same time, some people don't like that. So if you prefer a much narrower field of view, then yeah, this one might be better for you. But you're going back to basically an old design. This is like the O2C, O2X design. They brought that back with the old button layout. Now they have the new UI interface here that's on the newer goggles because that's basically just software. So basically the menus are a little bit better. But basically the only difference between the old goggles, the O2CX, and these O2O goggles is going to be the OLED screens and the steady view receiver built in. But obviously no receiver module base, so you can't swap them out for other receivers. So you're pretty much stuck with whatever the receiver that's in here, the steady view receiver. But it does have that that new technology where it's merging the two images coming from each receiver into a better image. So for some people, they actually like that. For some people, it doesn't work out so well. It depends on the camera you're using and the video transmitter. In some instances, some certain combinations, you get the rolling shutter, rolling video. Basically, it's really bad video. And in which case, steady view receiver isn't going to work for you. In which case, you can just switch the receiver from the steady view mode to the diversity mode, and it'll just act as a regular diversity receiver, and I'll just pick and choose one of the receivers, whichever one is the strongest signal. So that is available to you if you need to go, back to the old technology of diversity receivers. The rapid fire receiver has the same mode where you can actually flip it back to basically legacy mode and just switch the rapid fire receiver into basically diversity mode. So you'll just pick one of the receivers, whichever has the strongest signal. Now, in terms of powering up the goggle, you have the barrel plug, of course, 2 to 6S for the battery. It comes with the cable with the XT60. You also have the AV in and out connectors as well, if you wanted to do that. And then you also have the head tracker. The head tracker is built into this one as well. So if you were using the head tracker before on the O2X or O2C goggles, this one also has that as well. And the last thing to note is it does include these 2 antennas. You have your circular polarized antenna here and your patch antenna. I believe the O2C goggles came with I think the whip antennas, the old style, just basically linear antennas, but this one comes with a patch and a circular polarized included in the package. Now for me, this goggle is a step backwards compared to the O4X goggle. For me, the O4X goggle has the much higher resolution screen, much wider field of view, and also the wider faceplate, so it fits my face a lot better. So I won't be switching to these, but obviously with goggles, it's a very subjective and personal experience. So for some people, the older faceplate and shape is better for them. Maybe they like the smaller field of view, etc. For those things, for those guys that liked the older style goggle but wanted the updated screen and the updated receiver, then yeah, this one might be a pretty good choice for you. If you don't like the much wider field of view, the steady view module, because obviously this one's a lot heavier than this one here. Go to the product pages, the links down in the description. Next for the weight, it's not a huge difference. It's I think if I remember right, it's like about 80 grams more, I believe, for this one. It also depends on what battery you're using as well. But yeah, there's a weight difference as well. So some people preferred the old shape and style, but they wanted the updated screen for the OLED screen and the built-in steady view receiver. So if you wanted that, then this is going to be pretty much right up your alley. Now, what's interesting is that the old O2C, O2X goggles had the LCD screens. I think it was like an 850 by 480 screen. I believe it was a slightly higher resolution screen than this one. But, when it comes to analog cameras, that much of a difference isn't that noticeable. Now, I don't have those old goggles to compare. I wish I actually had those, but no longer have those. Just because if I remember right, with that narrow field of view, it's really hard to tell much of a difference in terms of the resolution difference. Now, the OLED screens, in my opinion, definitely are nicer than any current LCD screens. They just have a nice, the screen, basically the image is brighter, more vibrant. Just overall, OLED screens just appear better than LCD screens, especially if you've been using OLEDs for a while and you go back to an LCD screen like an older goggle. You kind of know the difference. But if you switch from LCD to OLED at the beginning, you're not going to really be able to tell much of a difference. But then after you use it for a while and you go back, then you're like, oh wow, the OLEDs definitely look better. So yeah, again, if you're looking for the old style goggle with the updated screen and the steady view receiver, then yeah, definitely you want to check this one out. All right, so that's going to do it for this one. Again, standard disclaimer for goggles. This might be great for you. This might be absolutely terrible for you. It really depends on how it fits your screen, or fits the faceplate fits your face, how it fits, and how well you can focus on the screen. Those things are impossible to tell in any kind of review video. You just have to try them out. So if you happen to know a place that is offering this, if you have a friend that has it, try them out first before you buy them, because it may turn out to be a terrible fit for you and you can't see the screen or whatever. Then of course, if you can't view the screen well, then the goggles are completely worthless for you. So keep that in mind. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.